Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Amy Fareed, and joining me today, I have two incredibly talented women. Relatives, please help me welcome Loren Waters and Tafv Sampson. Uh, Thank you guys for being here.
Super excited.
Liddell,
Thanks
thank
for
you for
having
having
us.
And you're here together, which is amazing. Loren, you don't live in New York, but you're in New York this week. Can you tell us why you're in town?
Yes, I'm in town because my short documentary film called Tiger is screening at the Metrograph tomorrow as a part of Filmmaker magazine's 25 New Faces, and also we're doing an Oscar campaign, and it's a part of that. So we'll get to screen it. We'll chat about it in the Q&A. And
The Oscar campaign.
Yeah.
I saw you last month because you were here for NYC Doc Fest, and you told me a little bit about the whole cycle of festivals and how you kind of enter these, and then that qualifies you to become an possible Oscar nominated.
Yeah.
Doc.
So we won.
So you're almost there.
An award where we were Oscar qualified after this award in May, and so we decided to do the whole campaign push. Yeah.
Which you should have, because the documentary that we're talking about is called Tiger. If you have not seen it, you need to see this film. It is an amazing 13-minute short doc about the legendary Tiger family from Oklahoma. And I wanted to ask you, what does it mean for you to win these accolades? At Sundance, you won a director's award. What does that mean? Does it validate you? How much do awards mean to you?
I guess in a little bit, when you're like, oh yeah, like it's cool to see people are resonating with the film, because this is a film that I took a lot of creative chances on, especially with her interview style. We filmed her on a diving board. We were just really experimenting with how this was going to look, and not knowing what was going to happen with it, because you're like, how is this going to work? I have no idea, but we'll just go for it. And so to see it be played now in 68 film festivals and
Wow.
receive this kind of attention, it's it feels good, but it's also like a reminder that it really is Dana, and she's the spirit that really shines through this film, and I wanted her to be happy and love the film, and so she was a part of the process and making sure that everything she felt really good about. And then I wanted the community to love it, because that it's for our people first and foremost and always, and then if other people can resonate with it, then that makes me happy. So the awards at the end of the day, like, if it feels good to be recognized, but it doesn't like fill your cup,
Yeah.
So you have to keep yourself grounded through this whole process, and working with people like you, and you did our hair last time when we were here, like those moments mean so much to me, because
Same.
there's so much jargon and like things you can get caught up in and that don't mean a lot, but then you're like, oh my god, there's a native person that can do my hair in New York before our screening and like come with us to the screening. Like that was amazing. And so
that was so special.
Yeah, so thank you.
So I think too, the accolades of an award are, what they are, right? But it's really your community loving you is so much more validating, and like you said, fills your cup, and that's so special. And the community loves Tiger, so you've already won an Oscar for us,
right?
So
yeah,
we're rooting for you, but
whether or not we make the short list or get nominated, I know that it feels good to be at this point.
Yes.
And actually the first time I went to the gallery, or one of the first times, I don't know, it might have been the first time, was with Tafv.
Yeah.
Tafv.
Yes.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Tafv.
you. Yes.
You used to work in fashion. You
did.
Still might. Do you still work in fashion?
I would say at this point, no, because it's been about 5 years since my very last fashion shoot I ever did was when I wrapped season 1 of Res Dogs, came back to New York, and I got my first call to do a Zara campaign that was 7 days long, which, as you know, it's a brutal 7 days,
Yes.
like a Highline studio. And I remember being on that job, having just come off of Res Dogs, having this like transcendental experience working with Native people in my community, working in a way I'd never worked before in my life, and then getting thrown back into like a Pier 59 setting, fashion. And I remember sitting there having a true out-of-body experience, saying, this will be the last time that I'm on a fashion shoot. And at this point it was, and I think that it definitely was my last time.
Amazing. Because now you work in film. So
Film, TV,
we were kind of talking about this. COVID kind of ended a lot for definitely fashion people here in New York. Like we couldn't work. We weren't allowed to work. And during that time you got a call to join the crew of Res Dogs.
Yeah.
How did you get into Res Dogs?
Okay, so the call that I got was from Imogen Lee, who's a set decorator here in New York. But her and I had met 10 years previously doing a Robert De Niro film, tiny film, called Being Flynn. And we were both assistants back then. And we just really loved each other, got along super well, but didn't really keep in touch after that. And so she got the call to come decorate the show because she was union. I couldn't do it. I wasn't in film anymore and wasn't union. But they had asked her if you have any Indigenous people you want to bring onto your team, because they're really trying to crew up Native people for this. And so she's like, I know one girl from 10 years ago. I don't even know if she lives in New York. I don't know what she's doing, but she called me to do the show. And I originally said no.
Amazing.
I don't do film and TV. What is that?
It was true lockdown. I got the call in, I guess, January of 2021. So, as New Yorkers, we were still in pretty heavy lockdown. And then when I got to Oklahoma, I realized I was like, oh, is the rest of the world not doing this? Everyone's like at the honky tonk in Tulsa.
Two-stepping.
I'm like rubbing all my like cans from Trader Joe's with like bacterial wipes still,
Oh, the nostalgia.
I know.
My God.
So I was like deep in COVID still, but this is kind of a long story I'll make short, but the reason I ended up saying yes was because my dad had passed in 2019, and we went to his memorial in Wichita, which is in Oklahoma, tiny Indian Baptist church out there called Grave Creek, and his memorial was really small, and there was one woman there that I didn't really know or recognize, and later I met her, and she said, oh, your dad was so important to me, we were homecoming king and queen. And I knew who she was because my dad had his whole life been writing a script about his time at Indian boarding school in Sequoia, and it was his full life experience, and she was a very prominent character in the script that I'd been editing since I was 10 up until he passed. So I had written about her my whole life. And so we hugged and cried. And I was like, I know who you are. And you are also so special to my dad. I really want you to read this thing he wrote. You're so in it. You were so a part of like the stories that I knew growing up. So, of course, we became Facebook friends.
Yep.
As you do.
Oklahomans love Facebook.
The Oklahoma aunties love Facebook. That's where I get all the tea.
I'm there too. I'm there.
Yeah.
So we became Facebook friends. A little over a year passes. I get the call to do Res Dogs. I'm on the phone with the UPM. She's sort of trying to sell me on it. Because originally I said no. I'm like, it's COVID. I don't think I can like travel. She was telling me about it, and she was, she said, the creator, writer, director, Sterling Harjo, and I didn't know who Sterling was at this point, but I was like, oh, Harjo, I think that's the last name of this woman.
Stop.
So I went onto Facebook, and it turns out she's Sterling's mom.
No. What?
Yeah.
That's the story.
How? Kismet.
I know. So Sterling's mom, my dad, homecoming king and queen.
Had a kiss.
Had a
Are
kiss.
you still writing this? Because this needs to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Can we do this?
I know.
I feel like we got to get this script going
I
now.
will help.
You're the head of hair department.
Head of hair.
Yeah, head
I
of
got the
hair.
extras.
Yes.
Yeah, so after that, I was like, obviously my dad had also just passed. And I was like, this is my
God.
father bringing me home. Because they were like, it's filming in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. And I'm like, okay, what are the chances this thing's being filmed in the place my dad was born and raised also? Because he was born and raised in Okmulgee. So
wow.
I had
He
to
was
say
saying
yes
hi,
after
too.
that. I was like, my dad is definitely pulling a lot of strings to like get me to come do this thing and meet
And look,
this new family that
You
was
have a
waiting
whole
for
family
me.
now.
I had no idea. I had this entire family waiting for me.
I love hearing about the cast and crew from Res Dogs because you guys literally all just say that you're family now. And that is amazing. Like, you're so lucky to, this COVID thing was happening. Fashion was kind of in the rear view. And then you got introduced to Sterling's set, which is, I went and did 2 days on the Lowdown. And it is such a fun work environment. It's a vibe. It's professional. But it just goes to show, especially, since we both worked in fashion, we've been in very toxic environments.
Very. It was, Devil Wears Prada was not, they weren't messing around. That's how it was.
Yeah.
The
Crazy.
hierarchy, unbreakable.
Yes.
And that completely dissolved when we went onto a Sterling set. There was no such thing as that.
Yeah. When I started as an office PA on the first season of Reservation Dogs, and I was the first person that you see when you'd walk in the production office at this old like
The
department
cutest
Macy's.
greeter.
But like the directors would walk in and like Sterling or Black Horse and like would say hi and like how's it going, and we'd chat for a second before they need to go do their thing. But then the producers like in the office were like, oh, like he's talking to the PA, like what's going on, like they're breaking the hierarchy. And I'm like, we're also like community, like you can say hi.
I remember someone saying they'd never heard of a crew A, hanging out as much as we did voluntarily with each other after a day's wrapped, but B, going to a bar and seeing the director, an art PA, a grip, set day, like all at the same table, just drinking and sharing stories and sharing their opinions about what they want to see in the show and things that felt important to them. It was really this like constant round table, which I think is what made the show so good.
That's what it feels so good watching it too, because you're getting the input from, our
PA.
department person, a PA, there's different levels, and it's like keeping your ear to the ground is such an important thing for directors, I think, too. I mean, for everybody, but it really adds this beautiful color to a show. And Sterling just captured that, and you're so lucky. That's amazing. So
it was really
now you're fully in
now. We can't get out now.
You're in too deep. You're in
tied together
We're all
for life.
too deep within each other's
It's
lives.
amazing from going from fashion, like we were talking about. When I moved to New York, it was like I was the only Native person.
Yeah.
We somehow never got to work together,
crossed paths.
and you had the same experience of not, never having other Native people on set with you.
It didn't even occur to me that I would have an opportunity to work with a Native person.
I know.
Which is insane.
Which is insane, and such a sad reality for a lot of like urban natives feeling that way.
I was fortunate.
Yeah, it's changing now, and it's different now, and I feel like there's people, I was like, oh my gosh, you've been here the whole time and we just never met or crossed paths. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I thought I was the only Indian in New York City.
It's so true. Until you find the community, you really, like, you kind of have to, it's not, like in Oklahoma, you go back home, it's like, oh, you know where to go. But, I mean, we're from there, so it's like easy. But in New York, you really have to seek the community here. And that happened when I was pregnant with Luna. I was like, okay, I need to find, there has to be, and it was like random. I ran into this woman at a store. We started talking and she was like, wait, are you that? So then she told me about the community house. And then I got into the community house, and through them started going to their powwows here around New York and around New York State. We used to have more. They've really like chopped down a lot of the powwows here in New York, but yeah, I just feel you with the only Native on set. I was really lucky because I had an assistant who is an Indigenous woman who was my assistant for years, and that having her there in my side with me was so fun, and we laughed and cackled, and we're just like rolling our eyes when people would say,
I was gonna
let's
say,
have a
no
powwow.
laughing on set was unheard of.
We
Turn the music down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, singing, cackling, the whole thing. And it's like, okay, now we have to shut up. You have to be like, okay, the whites are getting scared. Like, we're like, what's going on over
But
here?
I heard a non-Native person say, let's have a powwow on season 1 of Res Dogs, and they were like, obviously coming into the wrong community to say that, and you'd have have to like discern, you know, how do we approach this and how do we take this as an educating moment. And so, you know, of course, like being really gracious, but yeah. And there was multiple things with multiple crew members that happened, but it's like, listen, come on, like, come, like, learn, like, this is not what you say. This is how you talk to people, you know. We're not yelling at each other.
Exactly. Yeah. As an Indigenous person too, it's like like a lot of people, brown and black people, we have to educate along the way sometimes, which sucks, and we shouldn't have to do that, but this is the world we're in. You know, I have clients of mine that listen to my podcast and see the name and they're like, oh wait, should we not be saying that? And I'm like, yeah, no, that's why I wanted to name it this, to have to start that conversation. But so Tafv, now describe what you do.
So I do set decoration for the shows and production design, so set dec, production design. So what I'm doing is taking the script and more or less breaking it down visually, saying what is the tone, what are we going to try and say in between the lines visually to try and like really bring this character to life, because sometimes you have a very well developed character, like say Ethan in Lowdown, like we know who this guy is, and then we get to like really fill in like these like little details to like make him come to life. But sometimes you're getting 2 lines for a character, but you're doing their whole house. And the director and writers, they don't have time to really like embellish. And so you're really taking creative control, being like, okay, who is this person? Like, what are they eating? Like, where are they, like, what are they spending their day doing when they're at home? And you really sort of get to develop these people visually, whether you're really subconsciously noticing it or not. Like, you are more or less pushing the story along. And so day to day, I mean, we're shopping, we're sourcing, we're fabricating, we're working with other departments to make sure that everything feels like very cohesive, like costumes, props, art, set deck, graphics, everything.
Everything
like
you
sure
see.
everything.
We work together sometimes too. Brandon
Yeah.
will reach out and be like, hey, can we get some extras for this newspaper we're going to create that like have this certain look of Tulsa, you know, bad guys and what is it, boobies and bad guys.
Boobies and bad guys, exactly. Or like,
I want that t-shirt.
I'm like, I got you.
Yeah.
Or like Alyssa, who's the costume designer, her and I are frequently like, okay, we have no info on this character, nor are we going to get any more info on this character. Like, what are you doing to them? Like, what you do indicates what I'm going to do, vice versa. Like, what's their house like? Okay, then I'm going to dress them like this, or vice versa. So it's really like fun
building
to
a
collaborate
character
with the other departments. Especially TV, when you're moving so fast, you sort of just have to make these creative calls. But they're really fun because Sterling trusts all of us across the board.
The difference is like he puts people in positions that maybe it's like it's a growing position, but like he trusts us to make those decisions, and because like we've had the life experience, you know, doing it.
The trust is
the trust in not being a control freak. I feel like sometimes people can be so controlling that it's like and I mean that's their vision, which is helpful too. But I love that he has so much trust in you because you're
even staffing up for season 1. He really brought in so many friends and family onto this, and relatives, even if he didn't know us yet. Just saying, I know you're probably just starting out or have never even heard of this position before, but I want you on this team, because being in community matters more than having like the most like top rated designer coming in from LA or whoever. And that's what he built this empire on.
Yes.
And this is how it continues. And we were just with Erica Tremblay in Nashville for Indigenous speaking, and Erica was the one that gave me my first department head position. So I was like leading the department, which was terrifying, but also she put so much trust in me. And because she did that for Fancy Dance, then FX had the trust in me to make me department head for the shows. So it's all this like amazing like effect that happens where like your relatives are being like, I know who you are, I see you, I trust you, like just go do your thing. And then studio networks are like, oh well, they did it for this, let's bring them on.
And
up.
that's how. And now look at you, you're in the union.
I'm actually not in the union.
Oh, you're okay. You held out.
Flying under the radar, baby.
Oh, okay. Should we cut that? No.
Well,
they know.
I just appreciated every season or every new project. It was an intentional decision to have the Native people be elevated each time, and so I went from office PA to an extras casting director, department head, and was having more conversations with the directors and working with different departments. And it's a lot of work. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but they were like, well, you're here in Tulsa, know people, and like can get community involved, and you have like some producing skills. So maybe you can do this. And I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Like,
wait, how did you get into Res Dogs?
So I actually got an internship with OCO TV, which is a documentary TV show in Tulsa after I graduated. I did my college degrees in environmental studies, so nothing to do with film. I had no idea. But Sterling is a co-creator on that show, and he also co-created the production company that we made the show out of. So it was like year 5 when I was on there, and then that's how I met him. So after I worked there and the Cherokee Nation Film Office for like a year and 8 months or something, Sterling and I like got dinner, not just me, like it was like a group of us, and I kind of got like fringe invited. I'd like met him once, but like didn't really know him, and we were talking about, he was staffing up for the season of Reservation Dogs, and he was like, oh, I just heard today there's an office PA position that's open if you want to apply. And I was like, yeah, like I will quit my job tomorrow. And so that's literally what happened. I like did an interview, and like 2 days later I was on the show, and I was like, I just knew in my gut I needed to take that risk for myself, even though I had no idea what I was going to do afterwards or what my career looked like. And we didn't know what the show was at that time. Like I had never,
So this is season 1.
Yeah, season 1.
Wow.
You hadn't met the actors. I hadn't read a script. Like I really had no idea what it was, but I was like, this seems right. And then now like Tavv and I, just then I went to extras and the lowdown and fancy dance. I did that as well with them, and then now I wrote and directed my own film, short film that Tavv Production designed, and it's like,
what's the name? What's the name? Can we talk about the name yet? Or are we discussing the name of your? So you wrote it, because I know you're a director, filmmaker, but you are a writer as well.
Well, yeah, teaching myself how to do it, right?
Okay, so you can learn to write.
Yes, of course. We can learn how to do so many things. We could, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to grow with everything. But it's called A Map to the Next World, which is a poem by Joy Harjo. She gave us the blessing to use the poem, but it's also loosely inspired by Dana Tiger's brother, set in the 1980s. And so we're like, okay, we have a low budget.
It was scrappy as hell, but it was so fun.
I was like, how are we going to make a world that is 1980s with very little budget? But I knew Tavv could pull it off, and she did.
We did. It was really fun.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. So where are you at in that process, like post-production?
Yeah, I should have a rough cut by Monday, and we'll see. Yeah, so we'll be finalized by like April, and it's a longer
and this
process.
Is a short film.
Okay, it'll be on the circuit. It'll do like the thing that Tiger did. So
you were talking about low budget. I wanted to ask
how low.
When you're a director, filmmaker like yourself, how much time goes into actually trying to source and get money? Like, is that something that you do? And I know you're also a founder of your foundation, right? So do you have people doing that for you? Is that you like hitting the ground?
Yeah.
Going to the parties, trying to get that grip?
Yeah. Yeah. So
is that the other side of like your creativity, directing, writing, but then there's the kind of like the business part of it?
Mm-hmm. I am a workaholic, I would say, pretty much, which has its flaws, pros and cons. But I apply for a lot of grants. I apply for fellowships. I really that's kind of how I started getting funding for my projects, like $10K here, or even like smaller ones like $1,500 here. So on Tiger, I got a $1,500 one and a $10,000 one, which is like
that was it.
It's still pretty low. I mean,
that's very so low.
I feel like people's first shorts, they'll put in like $50K and make it so overly complicated. And that's also what I love about Tiger. It's like you guys did it on little to no money, and it's like the purest, most beautiful, well done story that's clearly
amazing,
everyone recognizes.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. Tiger, your documentary, your short doc, is a 13-minute beautiful story about a legacy of the Tiger family legacy. And if you have not seen Tiger yet, please watch it. I will send you the link.
It's on Criterion Channel.
I know. I've been
Criterion.
sending people after you were in New York last month with Deanna Tiger. I did your hair for the screening, and I did a little snippet on my Instagram of Deanna, and a lot of people were reaching out. How can we see it? How can we see it? So I was like copy and pasting the
FNX.
Yes, the
Yeah.
link to show. And people, my friend in LA, hi Roy, I love you, reached out, recently lost his grandmother, and was her caretaker with his sister. And it was just like the timing of it. He just like watched it and was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing, and really hit him. And so he loves it. So if we get the Oscar nom, I'm coming out, I'm doing your hair.
Oh yeah,
and then
already discussed.
I was
Yeah.
like, I'm coming too,
we're all
Loren.
coming. Oh, we're pulling up this time.
Yes.
And so yeah, he's, so Roy, we might see you in LA.
Yes. Well, thanks for sharing it. And
yes.
like going back to like the budget conversation, I think whenever you're an artist or creator, you spend time being creative, and also like I'm trying to live my life to gain inspiration and be in community and have life experiences, because I think that can directly influence what you put into your art. But also there's like, how do I get support for it? And so when I wrote A Map to the Next World, I had built this family through Reservation Dogs, and I sent the script to Erica Tremblay, sent the script to Sterling and like Liz Blood, and who's a writer on The Lowdown, and just I workshopped it, and I was terrified. Like when I sent it to Sterling, I'm like, don't rip it apart too much. Like,
I can't. I mean,
I
I'm
was like-
shrinking.
I
I
know,
couldn't
it's
even
like,
imagine like sending it to anybody. I couldn't even send it to my boyfriend to read.
Right,
I
it's
would
like
just
I'm
be
like, this is the first script I ever wrote. Like, be gentle,
Yeah.
But just to be able to have a conversation and then to raise money. So FNX, where Tiger is now, gave us some funding for the short film, the narrative film, and then I was able to get. I think when I put Tiger on FNX, I got some more money, so I'm putting all of that into the cost of making it. Sterling and Erica both are EPs on the project, so they came on to support too. And so having, it takes a community to make these things come together, and that's what I love about what we do in filmmaking and storytelling, because it all exists. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like, I could not have done Tiger without the people around me, and same thing with Map to the Next World. Like, whenever that comes out, it took a lot of people to make this happen, and a lot of people donating their time and their gear and equipment. And so yeah, now it's like, okay, now I'm in bigger rooms with lots more people and trying to figure out, how to make the next big thing and how to keep getting support. And yeah, people want to see our stories on screen.
They do, and we do. More importantly, like, it reminds me, Tafv, your grandfather is Will Sampson.
He is.
Who has known the world over for his iconic role in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And that was, I remember watching that as a 7-year-old, which, if you're wondering what's wrong with me, that's what's wrong with me. I was watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when I was 6, 7 with my mom, which I loved. But even being young and seeing him in his face and the way that it was shot, the close-up, like his features, I was like, oh my God, that looks like me. That looks like my family. I know, So even as a little kid, like, seeing that was just, oh, that is someone. So he knocked down so many doors. I just wanted to say props to the family.
And you're back in film now.
Yeah, back in film now. We actually just did a 50th anniversary screening. Sterling and I hosted a night at the Philbrook. So we did like a whole night of Cuckoo's Nest, and we spoke and did a letter opening. It was so fun. But it's funny you're saying, like, I was 6 and 7, and like, this was the native guy that I was seeing on screen, which is so not a kid's
no
a
lines
kid's film, and like
Not
barely
at
any
all.
lines. But that's how it was for like our childhoods too. Like, I had never seen any native people on screen other than like watching Cuckoo's Nest, my grandpa.
Yeah.
And my dad, this is also such a weird, crazy coincidence where it's just like, wow, this has all been, trying to be connected forever.
Yes.
Is that when I was about 9 or 10, my dad wrote an animated cartoon that he wanted to sell to Nickelodeon about a bunch of basketball playing dogs on the res. And it was called, listen to this, it was called Res Dogs.
No
Literally, it was registered with the WGA. And his friend, one of his good friends, was Jonathan Joss, who was on King of the Hill. So they lived on a boat together in Marina Del Rey because they were still two broke Indians. Even
Okay, that's another movie idea. Thank you very much.
But the sad thing is that I remember him writing this. He would stay up all night illustrating it. He wrote all the scripts, all the characters, the breakdown. He was very diligent about making this like a professional thing to sell because there was nothing that I could see, like as his kid, that represented any of our people or community in TV or film and media. He was like, I want to do this for like my daughter and my son.
Yes.
And so he said, I was a kid at the time, so I didn't know this, but when he passed away, I was going through all of his things, his belongings, and he had submitted it to like every network, all the people, producers at King of the Hill, because he had a connection through Jonathan. And I just read rejection letter after rejection letter saying this is not a sellable project.
Wow.
Like no one, like Indians don't sell, truly.
Yeah.
And that was in the mid to late 90s, and now here we are with Res Dogs. Yes. Not basketball playing dogs on the res, but
animated.
But behind the scenes we are.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the connection that just keeps happening.
It just keeps happening.
Your father was also an actor and an artist.
Yep.
Obviously your grandfather, and I know you've done some cameos in
only
Res
because
Dogs.
Sterling makes all of us do them.
And in the lowdown, I saw you outside, outside the hand game.
Yeah.
And so have you ever thought about being an actor?
No.
You're like, I'm behind the scenes.
I love being behind the scenes. Sterling just really loves throwing all of us in there with like no forewarning. The Res Dogs episode, I only found out 2 days before that was happening.
I love that.
But that's the thing about Sterling. It's like, I've never acted in my life, right? He's like, I don't care. Like, he cares about his people more than he cares about having like the people with the notoriety on set. He's like, I don't want those people on my set. I want my family on my set.
Yes.
And so like, these are the people he's like, I want to have fun on set. And I know I'm going to do that with you guys. So.
And you are so captivating as that spirit. Like, you look amazing, and just the way that you acted that out, and you were amazing. That was my first time seeing you.
It's my favorite.
So good.
It's my favorite scene is of the whole entire show is that scene with Willie Jack and Lily Gladstone, and Lily has her pray and visualizing her ancestors, and then Tafv and all the ancestors pop up behind her.
Literally my favorite scene.
And I cry like almost every time, and I literally have a selfie of me on set seeing it happen in real time and crying. I literally have tears in my eyes, and I'm like, well, it was a huge feat for us because we were casting the extras who were elders, not Tafv, but the other people behind her, and then like they don't use email, they don't, it's like, how do we get these people here on set, like a lot of them and then exactly. And then also having to communicate with costumes, all their sizes, because all of those were like custom made generational regalia from different like sets of time, for Muskogee and Seminole people. And so it was just such a powerful scene.
How did that work? With the regalia, was that pulled from families? Were they making regalia for Res Dogs?
I feel like this is so like of an Alyssa question.
I know it is.
What I was wearing was custom made. So it was originally for Irene Bedard. So that's who the role was for originally. So it was all custom fit for her. And then I had to slip into it.
Wait. So Irene, what happened? Was it COVID thing?
COVID, yeah. So 2 days before, she tested positive for COVID. So she'd already been fitted.
I think your grandpa and your father are like
they're scheming.
They're scheming.
They really
and
are.
That scene is literally my favorite part. Like I could cry now thinking of it.
We only shot that scene once, I think. We only did one take of that, and Sterling whispered in my ear. He was like, I want you to put your hand on Paulina when we get to a certain, he's like, I'm going to point and I want you to actually touch her. She didn't know I was going to touch her.
Oh my God.
And then she's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So that was completely, she had no idea.
Wow.
And we only did, I think, one take of that scene, and we're like, we got this.
Oh, I love a one take.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love a
The
one
confidence.
take. That is
Like knowing what you.
confidence is amazing.
I know.
And like,
just
you
knowing
know, in
you have it.
fashion too, like when you're taking so many photos of the same thing, and most of the time you get it in the first
The
or second
first
shot.
one, truly.
And then you're
First
just
one.
trying to repeat that
That
shot
first one.
for 5 minutes, and then you take 500 photos. It's like, doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
you know,
That's the
sometimes
thing,
you
yeah.
work with people that are just confident and be like, oh no, we
Sterling
got
knows
it.
what
Let's
he
go.
wants. He moves on fast.
Love that.
I was telling this when we were at Diginash last week paneling, but you know, I really had to like learn a ton of lines for this, and I had 2 days. Plus, I was doing my actual job, so I was like stressed and running around. So I like diligently learned all my lines, like in hair and makeup, like reciting them to myself. I'm like, okay, I think I got this, and then get onto the set. And Sterling's like, you know, I don't think the lines really make sense anymore because you're not an actual elder. So like, let's just do whatever you want to do. And I'm like, what? He's like, just start talking. I'm like, oh my God.
You're like, now I have to
My worst
improv?
nightmare. And I have to improv with like this Oscar nominated actress who I'm also meeting for the first time, who obviously she turns out she's like our older sister now, and we love Lily. But
An angel.
She is. I
angel
got to
on
do
this
her hair
earth.
out in LA last summer, and yeah, it was cool. It was so cute because she was going back to Oklahoma so much, and my cousin Asa, shout out Asa, and Jameson owned the Saucy Calf.
Yes.
in
I-
Pahaska.
we're homies with them, and
I have,
Billy
I have
Chloe.
the hat. I have the saucy calf hat.
So I would see Lily always going back home, and I'm like, you know, tons of my family was, you know, in and out of the movie, and so like she's worked with all of my family. So when I met her, I was like telling her, I was like, oh my God, I just saw you were with my cousin Asa last month, like eating, and she was like, oh, your cousin is Asa. I'm like, yes, like that is my cousin, the best cook in the world.
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that whole family.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know
She-
you were related. So
That's
I
my
didn't
cousin.
either. I know Jameson
That's my
very
like first
well.
cousin.
That is
Yeah.
so funny. Well, we're
So-
all related. but
Yes, we
Lily,
are.
Lily just blurred the most amazing thing about Tiger.
I
To put
know.
sort of in like the Oscar campaigning, and of course she did because she's our
So,
family now.
yeah.
But it's just, you know, everyone's helping each other out.
I think
all
the
time.
only thing that I remember from it, it's this really long, beautiful quote, but it's like, Lauren Waters is a filmmaker to keep an eye on. And I'm like,
It's so true, Lauren.
I'm like, what?
Welcome. It's all happening. Tafv, what would your grandfather and your father say about all this amazing
Oh my gosh.
movies, television shows, books, media?
I think about this all the time, and I truly just hear them like whooping.
Yes.
Like they are having the
Yes.
time of their life watching all this happen because they're also the ones making all this happen. So
Yes.
it's
So
just
true.
their whole plan coming to life and being even like bigger and beautiful, more beautiful than they could have planned. You know, this is something that my dad wanted for his kids our whole life. And, you know, he passed right before my life exploded in this incredible way. But I know that he's
he's
every
here.
day.
Yeah. Dana calls it, you know, the guiding spirit, which is a painting that her dad did. And that, I think, informs everything that we do. And, you know, Chris Tiger, who was murdered in 1990, you know, when he was murdered, it put a stop to everything that they did. And now every time we screen the film and bring it around to all these communities, I'm like, Chris is with us. And I feel like I've met Chris before I came to this earth in the spirit world, because when I was born in 95. So I just feel like our ancestors are the people who've like left this world are
To
really
us.
guiding
Yes.
all of these
Yeah.
things for
Yes.
us.
And we say all the time, you know, our parents and grandparents before that worked so hard to make sure that we had opportunities like this, and even a generation ago banging down doors that were not opening,
Yes.
but still doing it every single day and being so active in their communities and making the art regardless if anyone was going to get to see it or not. And so they really sort of like inched that door open for us, and now it's like all of us, their kids, that are the ones that get to walk through it. And so we have to thank
It's so
them
beautiful.
every day. Yeah.
You know, I was talking to Luca, a musician, and we were talking about colonialism. It did not destroy us. We're still here. We're thriving. But that our ancestors, what they were able to create and be artists back in tremendous, oppression is so inspiring, to that now we get to, we're still oppressed, but, it's not what they had to endure. My mom went to boarding school. I didn't have to go to boarding school. Right then and there, I'm a level up.
Right.
But it's so amazing to think like they were creating, beautiful art, beautiful music, our regalia, just so many things under horrible circumstance, and all of that carries down into us today. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I love that you said that, because our relatives, our ancestors are with us, and they're like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
We
get to like celebrate our indigeneity in a way that even our parents, in boarding school, my dad has horrendous stories about the racism happening against Native people when he was a kid and a high schooler, and just cops, shooting them down because they were Native, and they didn't really get to celebrate indigeneity the way that their kids get to now. Like,
so
we're
true.
so proud.
Like, we're like out here.
It's like I'm the most proud thing about me is that I get to be part of this community and have this family.
I even think about it with my daughter. Like, she's growing up getting to see, like even Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, that's our tribe. Obviously, catastrophic, horrible story, but that's our history. And she's seeing like our regalia on Apple TV in the theaters. Like, it's, so for her, that will be more normalized. She's obsessed with Willie Jack. And so for her, seeing those kids, and, our house back home in Oklahoma, like on the res, like she's seeing that in Res Dogs. It's so amazing. So even so now she's just leveled up, because now she's seeing that where I never had that growing up. When I first started watching Res Dogs, it was like, oh my God, like this is us. Like, even me being in my 40s, seeing that was like seeing Killers of the Flower Moon, hearing Osage being spoken. It still is like, oh my God, I can't believe it's
I cried when I watched Resball for the first time, and it's that elder ordering a breakfast burrito in Dene, and I started bawling because I had never, and this is a Netflix movie. I've never seen this, such a casually spoken thing. It's not like, the sage wise Native saying something you have no idea what's going on. Like, he's ordering a breakfast burrito in his language, and it's on a major platform. I was bawling my eyes out.
And I think too, it just like how your grandfather humanized us, because in the old Westerns and in Hollywood, we were always stereotyped. So I think also that was what was so groundbreaking too with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, was like, that was a humanizing thing for us, because we've just been so stereotyped. And so now seeing, it's like, oh my God, we can, be this, we can be everything, a full spectrum of a human, because we're fucking humans.
Yes.
Since there's something that I thought of when we're talking in this podcast being like a New York, natives in New York and beyond. Tava and I have been having such a fun, like, random time here, because at the Met right now, there's an exhibition, The Encoded. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
And
did you guys go?
We did. We went yesterday. It was
incredible.
so freaking cool. Like, to see it in person, I didn't know what to expect, but seeing it in person, I was like, this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen. This, like, Native people taking over the American wing at the Met, and it's all AR, like augmented reality. It's not AI. It's, there was an anonymous donor, and Tracy Rector came together, and there's an amplifier art. And so it was just so cool to see Indigenous people having a presence, but not given that it wasn't like the Met said, yes, you can do this. They just did it. And it's not a protest, but it's like, we're here, and this is our art over the classical American paintings and pieces. And there's like music to it as well. And so it's like watching these short films play over these paintings. It's incredible.
It's
so
very punk rock, this whole how they did this. It's pretty incredible.
I'm so excited. I want to go. And they started doing tours. Did you do the tour?
we did a tour,
Yeah, we
but
did a
you
tour.
can.
So
you
did
can
you like the tour? Because I
Loved
wanted
it.
to do that one. Okay.
He loved it. But you can also go on your own.
Yeah.
And so Tava's gonna go with her mom.
I'm gonna take my mom,
And
plus we didn't really get around to there's 30 pieces that got taken over by different artists, and I think we only got to see probably like 10 or so.
yeah. So charge your phone.
Yeah, so charge your phone, bring your headphones. I want to go back and do the full experience because the tour had to end because they started another one. So I want to go do it.
And then we
again.
found out that one of the artists, Jeremy Dennis, he has an exhibition at the Atelier Jolie
Gallery.
Angelina Jolie's gallery,
which is right across from the Bowery Hotel in the
I
East
didn't
Village.
even know she had a gallery.
yeah, and then I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
no. It's just so incredible. And then a good friend of mine from New York, who I've known for 15 years, she's mostly an art curator in New York. And I happened to have a dinner date with her last night before I even knew Loren was coming to town. And I was like, Loren, come meet Kelsey. You're going to love her. And then, of course, like talking about her nonprofit, your nonprofit, things we want to do in collaboration together. She's part of curating Atelier Jolie, which of course is this featuring this Indigenous artist
Jeremy
right
Dennis.
now.
I know Jeremy Dennis.
We
I
went
met
today.
him.
We were there right before we came here. We went to the gallery. So
And I
it's
was
just
like,
the web keeps on weaving together. Like it just keeps on happening.
I
these
met him this
connections.
summer. He had a show in Cold Spring, which is like up by
Yeah.
us in the Hudson Valley. And I was trying to get to do a podcast up there with him, but the timing didn't work because he was driving from Shinnecock to the Hudson Valley to install his show. So it didn't work, but we got to hang out at his opening. But that's incredible.
It's so cool to see all this native art being celebrated in spaces that traditionally they wouldn't be. And I'm like, it's not even November.
Yeah. Oh,
Hello.
Okay. And also November in New York was the craziest like Indigenous month of all time. It was like, that is a measure of where we're at too, because it used to be one or two little things, shindigs, and now it's like every night.
And
it's
we
like
just
another party.
had the Indigenous Fashion Week happen
in September.
Yeah.
It was just, and that was like every night too, and so much fun and great, and I cannot wait for the next one. But that was an amazing Indigenous New York Fashion Week with so many amazing designers coming in, hairdressers coming in, makeup artists. And that was just a feat.
And it got real press this year, which I feel like last year was the first year, I think. And so it was still like kind of under the table. But it got like W Magazine wrote up about it this year. Vogue wrote about it this year. So I feel like next year it's going to really.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna just evolve, and it's exciting to see that happen. Really, like just from working in fashion for so long and seeing that, it's beautiful. It's like
I've been waiting for this my entire New York life.
It's all happening now.
Loren, how did you meet Deanna Tiger?
So in this we keep coming back to it, but she was on Reservation Dogs, and we met through that, and she. She's a character in so many beautiful ways, and you met her. You did her hair for the first, it was the first time she ever got her hair done.
I met Deanna Tiger, and I wanted to make a documentary about Deanna Tiger. You meet her, and she's just this amazing explosion of energy and beautiful energy,
and she's
kindness, hilarious,
so funny.
We went to
and gorgeous.
The gallery the other day. She's like, "Come meet my spider," and she has the spider growing up with its web outside. She's singing the spider a song.
Yes,
and Muskogee, and I'm like,
and her legs and her feet.
And her legs are up in the air. She's doing a little dance, singing to her spider. She's like, I think she ate her boyfriend.
I mean, that's what I mean. She is just this enigmatic. Human.
So then she's a painter, and she paints Native women in these really beautiful, powerful, roles, positions, whatever, like lawyers and spirit writers. And I'd never really seen anything like that before, or at least seen myself in a painting in the same way that I did with hers. And I was just like, whoa, I've never wanted to be a painting before, and I was like, I want to be that painting.
The first painting I bought from her was one she'd done in the 80s, and it's all women with 80s power suits on. It's very cool with like their long hair, but they got the shoulder pads and the boots and the blazers on. And I'd never seen anything like this before. I was like, I wish I'd seen this growing up as a kid.
Exactly. It's like in the painting world, I'm like, this isn't really at least that I had seen. And so, yeah, then just got to meet her and learn more about her. And now we have all these like little inside jokes and funny stories. And she's, she's one of those people that just brings you closer to yourself as I believe that we are all spirits having the human experience, that we're all brought here and we all choose this life whether we like it or not. And she's one of those people that reminds you of those things, and she just finds meaning in all of the little things in life, which I love, like numbers. She loves like 444. She's like, finds meaning in the trees and the moon and the sun and the stars and the mounds, and just I've learned so much from the way that she sees the world. And also grief. I haven't really experienced grief in the way that she has, but she keeps her ancestors close to her by talking about them, and that she's been able to move through that grief, and also just like art saving her life and saving her family's life. And so I just really love her so much and really believe in what she is trying to do and getting her art out in the world and impacting future generations. And
to know her is to love her.
Definitely.
It's just, you meet her, there's no other way.
Yeah.
I love the shot of her on the diving board.
Pretty crazy.
It's amazing. Also, I didn't even think about how you did that, because that's a whole other conversation. But I love it because back home in Oklahoma, I have a pool like that.
You have a pool with goldfish in it?
Oh, honey, we call it the turtle sanctuary. It's the turtle sanctuary. And there used to be like a big tree growing out of it. Like it's a whole thing. People come and mow the lawn and they're like, do you want? I'm like, no, don't touch. That has a lot of living things inside of it. And sometimes when it's drier, it goes down and we see all the living things or some of the turtles belly up. And then sometimes it's really deep. And one time my cousin Gayla was driving by. She'll check on my house when she's in town in Pahuska. And she saw some res kids jumping in that black pool water.
Oh my God, no.
I said no. She said, girl, I had to pull over. I told him to get. I'm like, what? It was hot. You know how Oklahoma is so scorching hot. So those kids were like, you know what?
Desperate.
Let's go to Aunt Paula's house, because we know they probably, I don't know if they knew Aunt Paula, my mom, but they were using that pool. And my cousin was like, you could die.
I know.
What is it?
I joke that there's like brain amoebas in there, because like there's a
new life forms that scientists have never even heard of growing in there.
I'm creating little baby zombies. I don't know, like or like mutated turtles.
Yeah,
wait, that's already happened.
They're little like. It's funny because when we were filming, it was me and my cinematographer and 2 other people with us. It was 4 of us, and when I was walking around the pool, there was this like log that had a giant, like I'm talking giant toad, like this big, and I was like, oh my God, it's so ugly. And then it goes and then like literally screams at me and then jumps in the pool, and then we're like, it heard you and knew you were calling it ugly and did not like that. And I was like, okay,
get out of here.
Yeah, there's many like spiritual things happening in this
I'm sure
area.
Dana's singing to them and talking to them all day. Like she's always saying to her plants, make them grow.
Yeah.
Wait, so how did you get that shot? Because it is like, is that like some camera work that's so basic, but for me it seems like, how did you get that?
Yeah, it kind of is, weirdly, because we had no money to like get fancy equipment, and so
but it looks like fancy. It's like overhead shot.
Yeah, so we just had like a basic like dolly and 2 stands and put it at the edge of the pool.
Okay, so you had stands inside the pool.
No, they were on the edge of the pool, like
on the
hanging
on to them.
Yeah, with sandbags, and then But the side profile was the sketchy part, because we like leaned the dolly over the edge of the pool, and then on the side of the dolly that's like on land, we just put a shit ton of sandbags, and I was just like, and the camera was over the edge, and so I was like, if this camera falls in, like, it's donezo. Like, there's no reviving it at all. And insurance doesn't pay for that. So I was like,
it goes into the ecosystem of the pool.
Yes. Like, here, toad. It was the toad that did it. Oh my God.
but it was protected. We made it happen. And it's one of those things, like, I didn't know if it was going to work, but it felt like Dana. And when I asked her if she was down, she was like, yeah, I go out there all the time. Like, I go lay out there. And then afterwards, she's like gonna hate me for telling this story, but she was laying on the diving board for that interview, and then afterwards she goes up to her bedroom and we're like filming other stuff, and I need her to come back outside, so I go upstairs to get her, and Donnie, her husband, and her are in the bedroom. She's leaning over the bed, her bedroom, with her pants down, and Donnie's like face in her butt, and I was like, what is going on? She had gotten like shards from the diving board, like in her back or whatever.
No.
I was just like, oh my God. I was like, don't worry, Dana, like, I know, like, this stuff happens, but it was so funny. And she was, I was just like, I kind of
She had,
acted like
splinters.
yeah, or something. I was like, I just acted like nothing happened, but I was like, this is so Dana. Like, Donnie, come here. Check this out.
I was like, boy, do I have a fun time for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How has being raised in Oklahoma influenced your art?
Oh man, it's like, I think it's so deeply rooted in who we are. I feel like, so I grew up in Norman, and you know, there is Native community there, but I went to like a predominantly white school in Norman, and I feel like I was just actively trying not to be Native my whole life. And I was, you know, my dad would take us to powwows and do, you know, go to stomp grounds and things like that, but I was just, you know, I didn't really appreciate it until much later. And you know, I think now I'm very grateful for all of those experiences, but I think I've just developed such a love for Oklahoma and who we are as Native people. And like Tavv was saying, take a lot of pride in that, because we're different, and I like being different, and I like, you know,
when you're a kid though, kind of like we
hard.
were talking about growing up, if you only see whiteness around you, and you know, it's like you just kind of want to fit in. You don't want to be this different kind of person who's this, you know, I've experienced that with my daughter, like in middle school more. Now she's like, I'm proud of who I am. But you know, when you're in middle school, you're just trying to like fit in. You know, someone had told her, like, I had done a presentation at her little elementary school, and they're like, oh, would your mom want to come in and like talk to our history class? And I was like, okay. And there's like no Indians at this school, and they're ignorant. We've had like moments with the teachers, and it's a whole thing. But the high school is great and different. But I remember her being like, oh, maybe you don't tell them like you're my mom. It was like, she's like, I just have like so much to deal with. I'm like, you know what? At first I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, you know what? She's a kid. She's trying to like figure out her way in this world. And you know, I mean, because kids were like, whatever you are, they're like, we're going to call you a name. Like, it's bad. So I don't even want to repeat like the things that these kids tell each other.
It's crazy.
That each other, you know, crazy. So, yeah. And that also goes into like not being able to see yourself growing up, like in media or anything. So it's just
I
like,
never watched
wanna
movies.
And
because I couldn't see myself in them, and I didn't realize that till way later. So I have a lot to catch up on still.
Yes, that's the thing. Like, you don't realize.
Yeah, and then now I think I think I'm at this stage where I'd love for our art conversations to go beyond representation even.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, let's talk about the art form. Let's talk about the story. Like, let's get past like the fact that we get to have a space on screen, because and I think we will, you know, like representation will be a smaller conversation years to come.
Right. I think it's we're making it you guys, and I mean me too. We're all kind of contributing to this upward, you know, mobility of Indigenous representation, movie, film, TV. But what's next for you? I know you guys have your film.
Yeah,
It's a
short
film
narrative
now.
Film now.
So that's what's coming up next. Anything else that
You've got stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm leaving right after the new year. I'm going to South Dakota. I'm going to go teach on the res just for like a week and a half. We're doing a film program with Rizal. So we're making a short film. So they're taking like all Native department heads right now and putting everyone together so the kids can decide like what department they're most interested in learning about from the ground up. So we're doing like start to finish short film with them, and so I'll have a couple kids.
That's
So amazing.
South Dakota in the winter, it's gonna be freezing cold, but it's gonna be amazing. I'm excited about that. And then hopefully from there, I'm going directly to Oklahoma for Lowdown if it gets picked up, which we're thinking it might.
We're hoping. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. It's looking likely. So if that happens, I'll go straight from there back to Tulsa for most of the year. So,
and I'll be on, doing that too, Lowdown if it gets greenlit, in post with the short film.
Yes.
And then Tava and I, just this trip, like kind of not planning to talk about these things, but now I'm like, we're Tava's always told me she wants to work with youth, and my brother's foundation, Lindy Waters III Foundation, focuses on Native youth, and so now we're talking about like having her on like as a guest on our video podcast to talk about her career, and also just like how can we create programming around like the legacy of her family and also impacting youth and
all the things that we didn't get to have as kids growing up.
You're bringing it back, adding. It's for the kids that we do everything, right? It's for these generations so that they can grow up and just be better than we are.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing it. I thank you guys so much for joining me today. Where can we find you? Instagram, Facebook?
Don't add me on Facebook. I will not accept.
But you can add me. I'm just listening to all the aunties spill the tea.
Oh my God, because that's the tea.
That's where I get
Facebook
the tea.
is the tea.
Truly,
Instagram,
I'll say what's up with that person's post.
Yes.
I'm posting on Muskogee Creek Nation. There's some tea being spilled.
Facebook is the tea. Now, I was like, oh, Instagram. We're all trying to be cute and like, art department, but Facebook is where the tea is.
Yes, and people cannot find out that tea from me, so that's for us only. No.
Exactly. So you
Instagram.
Is your name on Instagram?
Yep,
okay, so that's the best place for
Tafv
people to
Sampson.
follow.
Yep.
Loren K. Waters on Instagram.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Tiger T Film on Instagram.
Tiger T Film, Team Tiger. When do we hear if you guys are actually when does that happen? Oscar nomination.
Oscar shortlist is December 16th, and then if we make the shortlist, then it's I'm gonna have to rob a bank probably for the campaign, and then the nominations come out January 22nd.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Amy.
And that's a wrap, y'all.
This is
See you
amazing.
later, relatives.